Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought you were telling me.
it is.
That's Eric.
Yeah, that's Adam.
Adam Yoder. Okay.
Okay, you're good to go.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the ERC meeting. It is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. We are on a call today for that, and we're going to get started. Present, we have myself, Eric Biter. We have Vince Melizzi from the ERC, and then other members of council. We have Council President Adam Yoder, and then various members of the administration as well. First item on the agenda is the Pine Ridge Old City project. They unfortunately were not able to, they were not prepared to present today. So we're going to go ahead and push that off until the next meeting. But I will say that project is pivotal to the east end development of the city. We see a lot of things going on over there. So I hope to have them back here very soon in the near future so we can get an update on the progress of what's going on, and hopefully get some better timelines for other developers within the city as we start to push that forward. Next item on the agenda for today is Lightcoming Arts. They have a presentation that they'd like to make to us. So I will go ahead and give them the floor.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Joy Walls, and this is Judy Olinsky and Debbie Burge. We're all from Lightcoming Arts. Debbie is president of Lightcoming Arts. We had sent a PowerPoint that we would like to show to you. Is there someone who's going to bring it up on the screen for us?
They may have screen sharing going.
Or do we do screen sharing of some sort?
Who currently has it? Do you have it, Joy?
Chris, I just forwarded it to you.
Oh, you did?
Yep. They sent it yesterday. I completely forgot to send it to you. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I haven't received it yet. Here we go. Show up. Come on. Okay, I will share my screen. Are you seeing it now?
Yes, good.
Okay.
So will we click to change the slides, or how does that work?
No, you'll have to tell me.
Okay. All right. So, we're here to share with you the impact of the arts and how Lightcoming Arts works in the service for positive impact in the community. The mission of Lightcoming Arts is to work to create local and regional connections that generate awareness, opportunities, and support of the arts. The arts inspire us. They soothe us, provoke us, involve us, and connect us. They also create jobs and contribute to the economy. The arts mean business. Change. Next slide. The arts have an enormous economic impact. Nationally, according to the National Endowment for the Arts and the Bureau of Economic Analysis in 2019, the impact of the arts constitutes a nearly $920 billion industry. The arts make up 4.3% of the US gross national product and create 5.2 million jobs. The arts are a larger share of the economy than agricultural, transportation, and tourism. The arts are the emerging sector in economic development. Change slide. According to Arts and Economic Prosperity, number 5, from the Americans for the Arts in 2015, the arts add over $1.7 billion to the Pennsylvania economy. Well, that was 7 years ago. And just as a comparison, today, the Pennsylvania Wilds, which Lightcoming County is part of, estimate that visitors spend $1.7 billion annually. So it's really significant. The arts generate $1.3 billion in household income through jobs. Art event audiences in Pennsylvania spend over $1 billion. Arts add $4.2 million to the economy of the Northern Tier. As the cultural center of the Northern Tier, this only adds to Williamsport's economy and economic viability. Next slide. As you can see in this timeline, Lightcoming Arts has been an established volunteer organization supporting and expanding opportunities for local and regional arts for the last 60 years. Though it has been known by different names, the mission has always been the same: to work to create local and regional connections that generate awareness, opportunities, and support of the arts. In the 70s and 80s, the organization sponsored juried art events, the Severin Rosen Project, and the Susquehanna Valley Festival of the Arts. In the 90s, the organization was charged with distributing grant funding for over $500,000 through the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts Regranting Program. During the last 20 years, Lightcoming Arts, in partnership with the Williamsport City Council, Main Street Committee, Art Towns 2010, and the Williamsport Business Association, started First Friday. As recognition for the pronounced impact of the arts that was having on our community, in 2008, Williamsport was selected to host the cultural explosion that was the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts. Next slide. Throughout the 20 years of First Friday, we have put on 240 events and counting, with over 8,500 attendees each year, generating over $5.3 million to the community. Lightcoming Arts First Friday received over $275,000 in grants and sponsorships from many businesses and organizations who recognize the value of the arts to the community, such as the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts, the Williamsport Lightcoming Chamber of Commerce, UPMC, Woodland Banks, and Van Campen Motors. You all probably remember how things were in the 80s and 90s. Think back how Williamsport was then. I think we can all agree that prior to the 90s, the late 90s and early 2000s, our downtown was suffering and had been for a while. First Friday was the event that reignited the fire of the community in Williamsport, which led to the vibrant downtown that we have today. We are experiencing a renaissance. The public relations rebranding strategy born out of First Friday's success has transformed our downtown. Leaning into the idea of Williamsport as a hip art town on the Susquehanna has brought and will continue to bring tourists to this area. And with tourists, money. Next slide. The impact of the arts and First Friday on the downtown can be seen in the design of new buildings and businesses that have come into the downtown. How the readapted buildings have been designed with artistic facades, and the new public investment in parking so visitors to the downtown have suitable, accessible, and safe parking. These buildings and design initiatives have attracted businesses like Patina's, Gustonian Gifts, Alabaster Coffee, and of course, a major department store, Kohl's, as well as new restaurants like Barrel 135, The Brickyard, and Stonehouse Pizza, Moon and Raven, and The Bar, and several other brew pubs. This impact extends into the surrounding areas as well. When Guitarly's and Converge Gallery grew too large for their downtown spaces, they invested in the community by purchasing buildings outside of the downtown for their businesses. And the downtown impact is also reflected in the increase in public art projects. Next slide. The Public Artworks Committee of Lightcoming Arts does incredible work to bring art to our public spaces. This group invited Michael Pilato to be a guest speaker for an event, and that is how he became connected to the city and the Chamber of Commerce, who commissioned him to do the mural. The committee works to have a new piece of public art installed every 2 years, which is tremendous for an all-volunteer organization. They commissioned signs for the 3 First Friday student galleries, and they designed and printed the cultural trail map of public art. Next slide. Public Artworks has made an investment in art of over $75,000. Return on that investment is in the beauty public art brings to Lycoming County, which is priceless. Here you see a piece by Fred Gilmore at the Williamsport Regional Airport. The mural on 4th and Market by David Stabler, and Shad Run, which was just dedicated in Pine Square. Next slide.
Next slide. Oh, we did it. Okay, thank you.
Here you see examples of public art funded by other organizations like the city and the Chamber of Commerce, inspired by the work of Public Artworks, because public artwork has shown to be important to the community in telling our story. On the left, you see Bound to Bloom at 4th and Market Street. Then you see the Woodhick on the Riverwalk. And on Market Square, Bases Loaded. And then that the Trade and Transit 1, the transportation of bas reliefs. Also in town at the Trade and Transit 2 are murals and sculpture. The Market Street parking deck shows the history of Little League and multicultural history of Lycoming County, which shows our diversity. Next slide. Lycoming Arts First Friday and Public Artworks are receiving media attention that is attracting visitors to this area. As a volunteer organization, we have utilized the free press coverage and low-cost media options at our disposal through the Sun Gazette, local billboards, magazines, radio stations, and our own social media presence, and also the social media reach of the vendors who participate in First Friday and the downtown businesses, as well as the film about First Friday made by WVIA. Next slide. Lycoming Arts is the strongest facilitator of arts and culture in the county through the variety of programs offered, the level of community support and engagement, cultural tourism, the availability of free programs and events, bringing art to the community as art for all. Lycoming Arts through First Friday and the public artworks has transformed the city. The arts brought back pride in the community, beautification efforts, and commercial vibrancy. Both the 2016 Lycoming County Comprehensive Plan and the Heart of Williamsport project address the importance of the arts to the community. Currently, Lycoming Arts is a purely volunteer-run organization, and we've been doing an amazing job as such. However, in order to continue the growth and efforts of the organization, we require a paid administrator for the organization so that Lycoming Arts can act as the steward for the objects and efforts to bring the arts to the community. The County Comprehensive Plan and the Heart of Williamsport project stipulated the need for such a position. Next slide. Moving forward, we know that 80% of the travelers are cultural tourists. So building the arts and culture in our community will draw in tourists who come for Little League and outdoor pursuits. We are a Susquehanna Greenway Partnership river town and trail town, and a member of the Pennsylvania Wilds. Just look at the Pine Creek area to see how they benefited from ecotourism. The Art Town brand is supported by all our programming and marketing. Like First Friday, we've held 240 events and a new event every First Friday. And public artworks with 10 public art projects and a new public art project every 2 to 3 years. The Lycoming Arts Art in the Neighborhood program with its Art to Go and 720 student art shows, both significantly designed to bring art into the community in keeping with social justice initiatives in the city. Lycoming Arts Art Everywhere program supports entrepreneurship in the arts by providing exhibition space and reception space for artists to showcase their work and host potential patrons. Lycoming Arts volunteers have created a place that attracts young professionals and young families, stopping the brain drain in our community. Volunteers have built these programs, but volunteers are in short supply, as you may know, from trying to volunteers for various organizations and including local fire departments. People are working longer hours. In families, both parents are working and want to spend their limited free time with kids and family. So Lycoming Arts needs a professional staff member to keep the momentum going for the arts in Lycoming County. Next slide. Moving forward with professional staff, current programs would continue, and the Art Town brand would allow us to develop additional offerings like Arts Weekends, where cultural tourism supported by curated itineraries of themes and events. A cultural district, which is a zone that harnesses the power of cultural resources to stimulate community and economic development. Cultural districts become focal points for generating small businesses, attracting tourism, nurturing cultural development, and fostering civic pride. And cultural trails, which are curated interactive experiences that are used to tell the story of the area and allow residents and tourists to celebrate the history, culture, and natural environment in multiple ways. cultural districts and cultural trails have a strong and proven economic impact. According to the article, Rural Prosperity in the Arts, and I think that was sent to everybody, it outlines several working examples of the concepts of cultural districts and cultural trails, both of which are covered in the county comprehensive plan. These two ideas have made millions of tourist dollars for the areas that develop them. For example, in Pittsburgh, their cultural district has a $303 million impact. The Route 6 cultural trail, just right here in our backyard, makes $90 million. In Maryland, the cultural district concept pulls in over $80 million for the state. And specifically in Hagerstown, a city that is about the same size as Williamsport, they have a $25 million annual impact. And in Virginia, one of their cultural trails has a $9.2 million impact. These initiatives would be a boom for our area. Today, 15 states have cultural districts, and Pennsylvania is considering making cultural districts opportunity zones. Lightcoming Arts currently has a cultural district and 4 cultural trails in research and development. So we're ready to go with those. Now let's look at the reasons to support the arts. The arts drive tourism and revenue to local businesses. The arts drives the creative industries and economic development. They generate civic engagement and ensure a sense of community. The arts support well-being, learning, and healing. They bring beauty and joys to our lives. Next slide. In conclusion, Lightcoming Arts has endured, adapted, and succeeded. As documented by the Lightcoming County Comprehensive Plan, Lightcoming Arts is a current and future economic development asset. As documented by the Heart of Williamsport Action Plan, Lightcoming Arts is one of our top community development values and assets. Our community values Lightcoming Arts. Through the county plan and the Heart of Williamsport, the community has asked for your investment in Lightcoming Arts. I need to ask you, would you agree that the arts are an economic and community development asset? Would you agree? Am I seeing your heads shaking? Yes.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Both plans call for a professional staff to protect and expand this asset that we all agree is valuable. Supporting an executive director or staff for the Lightcoming Arts has a huge cost to benefit ratio. According to the National Governors Association, an investment of $100,000 over 2 years would position the community to make millions in return. Our plan is to secure funds through the American Rescue Plan and other avenues. We are now seeking your guidance on securing these funds. So the next slide just shows the references that we have used to document our position on this.
Roger Shipley's piece.
Yeah, that's at the Trade and Transit 2 Center. Roger,
Termination.
yeah, Roger Shipley's piece there. Yep. Okay, so we're open for your questions or comments.
Leslie, if you want to start.
Hi, ladies. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate your slideshow presentation. There's a lot of information. I was just jotting down some notes. I had two quick questions. The Route 6 Arts annually generates $90 million in revenues annually.
Yes.
Can any of you ladies elaborate a little bit for me on specifically how that generates $90 million or what mechanisms that's through?
Well, yesterday, I dropped off with Janice, our hitting it out of the park, which is our development plan, you know, what we would do with our assets. And I also dropped off the article, Rural Prosperity Through the Arts and Culture sector. What happens is a thing like the Route 6, they have a great example in rural prosperity. I think there's one in Virginia called Round the Mountain, where like in our area, there's lots of little wonderful places. But when you're a tourist, how do you find them? So by creating a cultural trail, we do mapping and websites and have relationships with different, you know, businesses and entities. So we create a mapping system where people can experience what it is that we have. Like if someone comes here, you know, you don't know where to go to find all the wonderful stuff. We live here, so we know where it is. But another cultural trail that would be possible in Lycoming County is the Underground Railroad Trail, which is a very timely thing. The Route 6 Heritage, I forget how long it is, but it goes through several towns. It tells the stories of the different areas, how they developed and the history. And then it shows you where the culinary arts are, where the performing arts are, where the visual arts are, where the history is to tie the whole area together. Is there more you would want on that?
No, I saw that number and I was pleasantly surprised to see that there's $90 million from that from that Route 6 trail. It was surprising to me. Thank you very much.
And I think also the latest figures from Pennsylvania Wilds is the $1.7 billion that tourists bring to the wilds. That's just amazing.
Right. And the Wilds, again, is a comparable project in that the Wilds, the assets of the Wilds are all over the place and different types of assets, but through the mapping and the website and setting things up so that you can find the things that interest you. Like if you were an outdoor person, that's outlined and how you find those things. Well, if you're an outdoor person who wants to go to nice little restaurants at night, how do you find those things? And Williamsport is incredibly positioned. Like my husband is the kind of traveler that his idea of camping is a Holiday Inn. So, but I want to see the elk. I want to go to Wellsboro. I want to go to the Grand Canyon. So we would come to Williamsport, stay in the Holiday Inn, go to those places, do the things along the river, and come back here at night for dinner at one of our great restaurants or a performance at one of our performing arts centers.
Okay. Thank you.
Additionally, I think that, you know, as Joy pointed out, we've been watching this trend and we've seen this growing, and we've positioned ourselves to have these kind of things set up so that we're ready to go when we have the funding to do it. I mean, a small snapshot of that is our Avenue of the Arts map that we did for downtown that shows, you know, all the culinary, all the historic, all the, you know, everything that people might want to know and might want to see. And we have it laid it out very concisely. So we're positioned in 4 other areas to do this. We need a director and we need some, you know, some funding to do that. But we've been following this trend. We're ahead of the curve and we're ready to go.
Right.
Do you have anybody in mind for that position?
No, we'd have to do a search for the position because we'd have to be able to, we want to be able to guarantee we'll have the money to pay the person before we start looking for them.
The only, I had one more question, ladies. Your presentation, you also said that current demographics are working against you. Can you speak to that a little bit? I'm curious to know what demographics are.
that we've been a volunteer organization since 1960, but with the development of, 2 workers in every family, there is less time for people to give to volunteering. We are so lucky because the volunteers, I don't know if you went to the last First Friday, that was all done by volunteers. And, people still want to volunteer for the arts because it's such an enriching experience for the community, but time is limited. And these things are work intensive. I mean, one of our projects, our concept is to create what we call an arts weekend. One of the antique stores told me a couple came down from Corning one night to go to the First Friday, and they had a hotel room and they were going to stay for the weekend. And, we can create art. These things we need help. And we need people. If you look at in our development plan, hitting it out of the park, if we were to develop a cultural district of the city, then someone has to work on developing all that mapping, all those partnerships, helping everyone to work together.
Mhm.
It's pretty labor intensive.
Do you have a digital copy of that hitting it out of the park?
I don't have it digitally, but I dropped it off to Janice for you. The
Okay,
one
and
that she had.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
She gave it to Janice, and Janice has it to distribute to you guys.
Right.
Okay. Now, within that plan,
So-
then, does it explain sustainability for this position and funding streams? So that way, after 2 years' time, you have a way to pay this executive director?
Yes, we do. And
Okay.
that information sent to Janice also. It was a Lightcoming Arts American Rescue Plan proposal update, and then a projected budget, which would show, where the income would come from with a director. One of the things that we've experienced in applying for grants is that many grants require that there be paid staff to apply for those grants. And we have not been able to apply for those grants because we don't have any paid staff.
Mhm.
So that limits us.
Right.
And we know that with a paid director, we could apply for more grants to access, more funding for Lightcoming Arts.
Yeah, the work qualifies us that we're doing. We just don't have the paid staff.
Okay. So I've always seen the value in the arts. I mean, I obviously love taking my family down to First Friday and enjoying that and seeing everything that Lightcoming Arts is getting involved with. Obviously, those are big questions that we have to get answered, though, with the funding stream going forward after the first 2 years. So for myself and Councilman Pelizzi, we're going to need to go through those documents and then confer with some more members of council as well. We may ask you to come back then after we go through those documents to answer any other follow-up questions we're going to have. But is there anything that you'd like to leave us with before we end our meeting this morning?
Well, I'd just like to point out that we obviously have staying power. We've, Lightcoming Arts was founded in 1960. It's always been a volunteer organization. There have been paid staff in the past, but it was when we were getting some funding for that. And when we have funding, we do very well getting our staff on board and moving projects forward. We have also been doing First Friday for over 20 years. And the new projects that we have, I don't see why they wouldn't be as sustainable and successful as the others. But again, when we have staff, we really can move things forward. We just haven't had the funding for that since the early 2000s. And we've still maintained. We haven't fallen apart. We haven't gone away even through COVID. So I think that, we're a good bet. We have staying power and, I think we do a lot for the city.
I do have one comment. This is hitting it out of the park, which Janice has a copy for all of you, which is our development plan. And this is rural prosperity through the arts and creative sector. This is a report to the National Governors Association that was done in 2019 that says that the things that we want to do are the best practices in creating prosperity through the arts in rural areas, because what it does is it generates small businesses and it supports them. When we first gave you the Economic Development Committee hitting it out of the park, we suggested that our ongoing funding be supplemented by the hotel tax, because that was one of the suggestions in the comprehensive plan as a source of funding. But that money is committed and diminished somewhat because of COVID. So we just sent you yesterday, Joy talked about it, Lightcoming Arts American Rescue Plan updated budget, because the county wanted us to work through developing a business plan, which we have been doing. And as we've done that, we've realized that the best way to fund us ongoing would be the hotel tax, because we would have more time to work. Because if you're fundraising, you know, that cuts into the amount of work that you can get done. But we could, according to our business plan, we could move forward supporting ourselves beyond the initial investment on your part. So that's in the update. And we would love to come back and answer your questions.
Right, we sure would.
For your time. We know how much work you guys have. Running the city is a really big job.
We appreciate that. We appreciate you and everything that you do, all three of you. Thank you for your time as well. So I have nothing else to add. Mr. Pelizzi, if you have anything you'd like to.
I just have a quick question. I'm sorry. You made mention real quick that, you know, this being cultural tourism, and you
Yes.
thought it'd be appropriate that the funding for this position be done through the hotel tax revenue, which I believe that would fall under through the
Right.
Tourism of the through the county tourism. Did you approach
Right.
the sorry, the name for the tourism, the Tourism
Visitor
Promotion
Bureau.
Association, the TPA?
Right.
Right.
Well,
Did you approach them to seek
Bureau
funding for this?
The Visitors Bureau is under the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And we have presented to them, and they have told us that there is no money for that. And currently, I understand that the hotel tax, some of that money is going to fund the Hiawatha. So that seems to be a priority over, you know, working with Lightcoming Arts.
They asked us if we went to city council.
Well, and the other thing is they've made a commitment to youth sports. So I guess coming out of Little League, they're doing a bond, I believe, for that, and money will be going towards that for a while. And COVID has made a dent in the hotel tax revenues to begin with. So, but we think once we get past the having a director, if you look through our budget, when we gave you the update, we gave you the budget of where we believe the money would come from. And that's not even all the lines of money that we think would be possible to us with, you know, with a director.
Okay. Mr. Biter, I don't have any more questions right now. These ladies have been very gracious in answering the questions that I had. And I share Mr. Biter's sentiments that, you know, I always enjoy, my wife and I love going down to First Fridays. We love going to see the shows and the theater. We think it's great. However, like Mr. Biter said, I think we'd want to review the documents that you dropped off to Janice a little bit more in depth right now. Before, you know, I think it would be irresponsible to make any kind of decision at this point until we're able to review everything.
Right.
So, Mr. Biter, that being the case, I would recommend that we pass this forward onto the full body of council with no recommendation at this point in time.
I would agree.
Mr. Yoder?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to pass anything on it. There's nothing, it's not a voting item. It's just an
Yeah.
informational thing. So, I mean, nonetheless, it's all great information and good points. I think the thing that sticks out to me outside of this individual proposal is, I'm sure there's other organizations out there. I mean, one of the things that when Lightcoming Arts reached out, the question was like, how do we get access to this money? And something that we have not done to this point. I mean, we've really focused, which is a good thing. We've really focused on, I think, funding needs that have been deferred for years, the levee, public works, our parks, that kind of stuff, all of which is extremely important, but we haven't really looked outside of city government to this point on the needs outside of city government. So if we're going to look at organizations like Lightcoming Arts that certainly, have merit, don't get me wrong there, I think we need to look at what does that process look like so that we're ensuring that it's a level playing field and ensuring that everybody that might have good ideas in addition to Lightcoming Arts, that's articulated and that we have a process in place to do that as well. So that's something that sticks out for me as well that we really should look at and we haven't looked at yet. And I think we've got some good resources to kind of help us do that. And I think rather quickly, we have the compliance firm that we have on board. They're working with municipalities all across the country. There could be some really good things that they have done and seen that we could apply to putting something like that together. The county's already gone through that. So there could be some best practices that we could pull from there as well. So it's something that sticks out to me that might be worth looking at here in the short term as well. But I'd echo both of your sentiments and Lightcoming Arts specifically. Great presentation, great information. The other thing that sticks in my mind with that, and I got to run then. I'd be really interested to see whether and I'll take a look on my own in addition to this, but with the references that you put together, I'd be really interested to see if there's any statistics related to other similar cities in Pennsylvania. Like you look at Sunbury, look at Reading, that kind of stuff. I mean, and the reason I asked that, there's a lot of good ideas that we can pull from like Pittsburgh and Philly, and that's where the data is most easily and readily available. But we look a lot different than those cities. There's a lot of other, I think, comparable and more applicable case studies that could be out there or models that are out there in other third-class cities. So I'd be really interested to see if there's data out there in those references, or if you have any information about how the arts is benefiting other similar cities. Like I said, like Sunbury comes to mind. They're close. Reading, York, other similar third-class cities that are in kind of a similar demographic. There's the tourism benefit, that kind of thing. It's just something that kind of stuck in my head going through your presentation that I think would be really interesting to see. So, but thank you both for being here, and I'm glad you guys reached out.
Absolutely. So we do have a hard stop that we need to get going here. So I do appreciate everybody being here. If there's nothing else, then I'd like to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that. Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
I'm trying to get out. I can't switch it. Sam Hanks. He must be there.